Presenting our podcast, Got Milk, the Indian Dairy Context, brought to you by Shunya Agritech, India's first animal nutrition and well-being focused organization. Say hello to your hosts, Gir and Sahil.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We wade through the research so you don't have to. Today we're looking into something really quite fascinating in the plant-based world. It's about unlocking even more nutrition from foods many of us eat every day. You know, we're often searching for those little food facts, those aha moments that change how we see our meals. And today's deep dive is exactly that. We're getting into the world of germinated cereals and pulses. We've got two big review articles here, and they really unpack how this ancient process sprouting basically can seriously boost the nutritional value of grains and legumes. Our mission: to cut through the jargon, pull out the key takeaways, and understand how this biological magic trick turns everyday staples into, well, functional powerhouses, maybe with a few surprises along the way.
It really is a significant transformation. I mean, cereals and pulses are great to start with. Protein, fiber, minerals, vitamins, all sorts of bioactive compounds. But, and this is the key thing, their full potential is often, let's say, locked up because of things called anti-nutritional factors. Think phytic acid, trypsin inhibitors. They can actually hinder our bodies from absorbing all that goodness. So what we'll explore today is how germination offers this really effective and pretty economical way to boost the good stuff, enhance those beneficial compounds, and crucially, improve how our bodies can actually use the nutrients.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Germination. Most people probably think, seed plus water, sprout. Simple. But it sounds like there's a whole lot more going on under the surface, nutritionally speaking. What's really happening?
That's a great question. It's much more complex than just adding water. Germination is fundamentally a biological process. It's the seed waking up from dormancy by activating its own internal enzymes. You can think of it in about three phases. First is imbibition. That's just the seed rapidly soaking up water. It swells, softens. The seed coat might even rupture a bit, making it permeable. It's getting ready. Then comes the preparatory phase. Less water uptake here, but inside things are really humming. Metabolic activity, respiration peaks, and critically, the seed starts making new mRNA and proteins, basically getting the machinery ready. And finally, the germination phase proper. Water uptake might increase slightly again, but the big thing is the conversion of stored nutrients, complex stuff, into simpler forms. Fuel for the seedling. And you get cell division, DNA formation, the works.
Okay, so this intricate internal dance is happening. What does that mean for the food itself? What are these chemical changes doing?
Right. This is where the enzymes really get to work. The seed releases these hydrolytic enzymes. So you have protease enzymes, think of them like molecular scissors, snipping complex proteins into simpler amino acids your body can grab more easily. Then amylase enzymes, they tackle the complex starches, breaking them down into simpler sugars like maltose and glucose, much easier to digest. You've also got lipase enzymes breaking down fats, lipids, into free fatty acids and glycerol. And even things like beta-glucanases that work on specific fibers. It's this enzymatic activity that really transforms the grain's composition, making it, well, better for us.
Right. This is where it gets really interesting for anyone eating these foods. How do these chemical shifts translate into a sort of nutritional upgrade? Let's talk about the big ones: carbs, proteins, fats.
Yeah, the macronutrient profiles definitely change, and mostly for the better in terms of digestion and usability. For carbohydrates, overall starch content tends to go down. But the amount of simpler, more digestible sugars, maltose, glucose goes up. I mean, think about rice. The activity of one enzyme, alpha amylase, can increase something like 142-fold in just 24 hours.
Wow, 142-fold.
Yeah. And over, say, 120 hours, the total starch in rice might drop by over 60%. That's a massive change in how easily your body can process it.
Okay, and proteins, you mentioned simpler forms.
Exactly. Crude protein content might fluctuate a bit, but the key is that those big insoluble proteins get broken down into more soluble, digestible forms. And crucially, the levels of essential amino acids, the ones our bodies can't make, like lysine, methionine, leucine, often increase. In some studies, like on waxy wheat, certain essential amino acids peaked after about 36 hours, so you're getting more usable protein.
Makes sense. And fats, you said they decrease.
Generally, yes. The total lipid content tends to drop because the growing sprout uses them for energy. Like in germinated yellow maize, lipids might go from around 3.7% down to 2.8% over 72 hours. But what's really interesting is the type of fat can change. You might see an increase in beneficial polyunsaturated fatty acids, PUFAs, and a decrease in saturated fatty acids, SFAs. In rice, for instance, PUFAs went up 10%, SFAs dropped significantly. And importantly, one study on soybeans found no trans fatty acids after germination, which is definitely a good thing.
Okay, so better carbs, more usable protein, potentially healthier fat profile. But what about those other compounds, the bioactives, the ones with extra health perks?
Yes. This is where some really dramatic increases happen. Take polyphenols and flavonoids, powerful antioxidants. Their total content often shoots up. They get released from cell walls where they were bound up, or the plant actually synthesizes new ones as it sprouts. Mung beans, for example, can show a 4-fold increase in polyphenols in just 24 hours.
There's time.
Yep. And soybeans, maybe the 330% increase after 4 days. This massively boosts the food's antioxidant capacity. It's like turning on an antioxidant factory.
Incredible. What else?
Another big one is GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid. It's a non-protein amino acid, and it's linked to neuroprotective effects, anti-diabetic properties, even potentially lowering blood pressure. GABA levels can skyrocket during germination, sometimes 8 to 12 times higher in brown rice, or up 149% in mung beans. Just huge increases. And in rice specifically, you also see gamma-oryzanol go up. That's another antioxidant, anti-inflammatory compound. It can increase by over 50% in germinated brown rice.
Yeah.
And finally, vitamins. Vitamin C, often pretty low in raw grains, can actually be synthesized during germination. So you see levels rise in things like barley and wheat. Tocopherols, which are forms of vitamin E, also increase. Alpha-tocopherol in wheat, for instance, can increase by over 3.5 times.
It's really quite amazing. It feels like the seed has this hidden potential, and germination just unlocks it. It's not just digestion. It's creating new beneficial stuff.
That's a good way to put it. But to fully grasp the benefit, we also need to talk about the flip side of raw grains and pulses, the anti-nutrients.
Right. You mentioned those earlier, the things that get in the way.
Exactly. These are compounds that can interfere with nutrient absorption, sometimes cause digestive issues, things like tannins, phytic acid, lectins, enzyme inhibitors. But germination is quite effective at reducing these. Take phytic acid. It binds to minerals like zinc, iron, calcium, magnesium, making them unavailable to us. Germination activates an enzyme called phytase, which breaks down phytic acid. You can see reductions of like 6-fold in rice, 7-fold in wheat. That's huge for mineral absorption.
So it's like unlocking the minerals, too.
Precisely. Then you have enzyme inhibitors like trypsin inhibitors that hinder protein digestion. Germination reduces those maybe by 23% in soybeans after 3 days. Or alpha-galactosidase inhibitors, the ones linked to flatulence from beans. They can be completely eliminated from cowpeas in 48 hours of sprouting.
That's a benefit many people would appreciate.
Indeed. And other things like tannins and oxalates, which can also interfere with nutrient absorption, they decrease too. Tannins down 23% in chickpeas in 3 days, oxalates down over 50% in finger millet. Even saponins, which can cause indigestion, tend to leach out during the initial soaking phase.
So germination is basically cleaning house, removing these obstacles. What does that mean for us, practically speaking, how our bodies use the food?
This leads us to 2 important concepts: bioaccessibility and bioavailability. Bioaccessibility is about how much nutrient is released from the food in your gut, ready to be absorbed. Bioavailability is the next step. How much of that released nutrient actually gets into your bloodstream and can be used by your body? By reducing anti-nutrients and breaking down complex molecules, germination significantly boosts both. We see increased bioavailability of iron and calcium in pulses like green gram and lentils. Zinc bioavailability in corn jumped massively in one study, from about 50 up to over 83 millig 100 grams. And protein digestibility can improve substantially too, like in millets, going from maybe 72% up to over 83%. Essentially, your body gets more value from the same amount of food.
It really does sound almost too good to be true. A natural process making healthy food even healthier. But I guess it's not quite as simple as just soaking some seeds. You mentioned control earlier.
Absolutely. You can sprout things at home, but getting the optimal results, especially for maximizing specific nutrients, requires careful control. It's influenced by quite a few factors. Temperature and humidity are key. Usually the sweet spot is somewhere between 20-30 degrees Celsius with high humidity, maybe 85-100%, often for 3 to 7 days. Get that wrong, and the quality suffers.
And light, does that matter?
It does, surprisingly specifically. Light modulation, like using different colored LEDs, can influence phytochemicals. Red or blue light might boost phenols or flavonoids. UVB could increase anthocyanins. Though interestingly, some studies find higher total phenols when germination happens in the dark. So it's complex.
Okay.
And here's a really counterintuitive one. Applying mild stress during germination can actually increase beneficial compounds.
Stress, like making it harder for the seed.
Sort of. Mild abiotic stresses a bit of cold, or salt or low oxygen, hypoxia, can act as elicitors. They trigger the plant's defense mechanisms, its secondary metabolism, leading to more phytochemicals. For example, slight salt stress can boost phenolics and GABA. Hypoxia is particularly good at increasing GABA.
Wow.
And researchers are even experimenting with other elicitors-specific chemicals like hydrogen peroxide, certain mineral salts like selenium or zinc, even plant hormones to try and further enhance specific nutrients. It's becoming quite sophisticated.
So it's moving towards like precision sprouting, carefully tailoring the conditions.
You could say that. It's about understanding how to nudge the seed to produce the best possible nutritional profile.
Which leads to the question, if we can supercharge sprouts this way, how are they being used now and why aren't they, everywhere? What are the roadblocks?
Well, germinated products have a long history, especially in Eastern cooking. But now, they're gaining traction in the West because people recognize the nutritional benefits and often the improved taste or texture. You see them ready to eat in salads or as garnishes. They're also being used as a raw material in things like snacks, breads, pastas, noodles, and non-dairy drinks. Some are even used to make functional beverages, like fermented probiotic drinks. And then there's things like wheatgrass, consumed as juice or supplements.
Okay, so they are out there, but what's stopping wider use? What are the big challenges?
There are definitely hurdles. One is that environmental control we talked about. Doing it consistently and economically on a large scale is tricky. Temperature, moisture, oxygen, light, it all needs precise management. A major one, especially for commercial production, is microbial contamination. Sprouts grow in warm, moist conditions, which are unfortunately perfect for bacteria and molds. Preventing foodborne outbreaks is critical.
Right, I remember hearing about sprout recalls.
Exactly. It requires really strict hygiene, temperature control, maybe advanced packaging like modified atmosphere to ensure safety and shelf life. That costs money and expertise. Then there's the industrial scale-up itself. Moving from small batches to large, efficient production needs more research into optimizing the taste, texture, shelf life, and functional properties consistently. And one final point, a nutritional consideration. Because germination breaks starch into simple sugars, people with conditions like type 2 diabetes need to be mindful. The glycemic impact might be different from the raw grain.
That makes sense. So safety, consistency, scale, and some specific dietary considerations. But despite those challenges, the health potential sounds really promising.
Yeah.
You mentioned GABA, antioxidants.
Mm-hmm.
Are there concrete examples from studies showing real benefits?
Absolutely. Germinated brown rice, GBR, is the star here, the most studied. Animal studies mostly show really strong potential for better blood sugar control, improving cholesterol and lipid levels, correcting dyslipidemia, essentially. Also for reducing oxidative stress and complications related to obesity. Some studies even hint at neuroprotective effects, which is very exciting. For example, GBR helped improve lipid profiles and reduce fat tissue in obese rats.
Okay, GBR is one. Anything else?
Yeah, tartary buckwheat sprouts were used to make a functional pasta. In rats, this pasta showed potential for reducing cardiovascular risk factors and hypertension, likely due to the boost in compounds like rutin and quercetin from the sprouting, and wheatgrass juice. It's been looked at for various things. In thalassemia patients, some studies suggested it might help reduce the need for blood transfusions. There's also research into its potential benefits for ulcerative colitis, maybe linked to a compound called apigenin, and perhaps slightly less directly applicable to humans, but interesting nonetheless. One study found wheatgrass supplementation actually increased the lifespan of fruit flies.
Huh. Okay, maybe not a direct human benefit yet, but it shows something powerful is happening. And it sounds like it's often the combination of things, not just one compound doing all the work.
That's a really important point. It's often the synergy, the overall change in the food matrix, more nutrients, fewer anti-nutrients, different profiles of compounds all working together. That complexity is part of what makes it so potent, but also challenging to study perfectly. But the bottom line is, germination effectively transforms these staples into functional foods. It boosts the good, reduces the bad, and makes the nutrients more available. It's an affordable, natural way to enhance plant-based nutrition, which is incredibly relevant today.
So thinking about this deep dive, what's the key thing for you, the listener, to take away? It seems you now have this insight into how an ancient, simple process can unlock so much hidden value in everyday foods. Maybe it encourages you to look for germinated options next time you're shopping, whether it's bread, snacks, maybe even trying some sprouted beans or grains yourself, keeping those safety points in mind. It's about getting more from your plants.
And looking ahead, the research needs to continue. We need better ways to quantify all these bioactive compounds, especially in processed products where labels might not tell the whole story. We need clearer guidelines for people. And critically, more human studies, those in vivo trials, to really confirm the health impacts suggested by the lab work and animal studies. There's still a lot to learn.
Definitely. And maybe a final thought to leave you with. If just adding water and warmth can make a simple seed potent enough to potentially extend a fruit fly's life, what other incredible potential is lying dormant in the plant kingdom, just waiting for us to figure out how to unlock it? Keep exploring, keep asking questions.
Hope you enjoyed this episode of Got Milk, the Indian Dairy Context. Subscribe to the podcast. And a reminder, this episode was brought to you by Shunya Agritech, India's first animal nutrition and well-being focused organization. Thank you, and see you in the next episode.